Welcome to Missing the Mark, where we look for meaning in strange places. I'm Christopher. Hi, this is just a quick logic lesson for the sort of atheists who say things like, we dismiss your religion as easily as you dismiss all other religions. Okay, so I'm not going to go over all of logic, by any means. Just one rule of logical inference, modus tollens, also known as denying the consequent. So in formal logic, where it's nice and clear, it looks like P implies Q, not Q, therefore not P. To give an example, and in logic one always uses silly examples, very often about Socrates, you have, if Socrates is a bull, then Socrates will have horns. Socrates does not have horns, therefore Socrates is not a bull. Nice and simple. Silly example, of course, but silly examples are clear, and those are what are commonly used in logic classes. Like a college-level logic class, for example. Okay. Now, it probably won't surprise you too much to learn that you can rephrase this as P implies not Q, Q, therefore, not P. All you're doing is, you can just let Q be this. It's the same sort of truth-value table. If you work it all out, it's exactly the same rule of inference. The particulars here is, and to give a particular example, if Islam is completely true, then Christianity is not completely true. Or if you want to be really, really formal, it is not the case that Christianity is completely true. Christianity is completely true. Therefore, it is not the case that Islam is completely true. This is an entirely valid reason. Now, I know you don't agree with the premise. There are two premises. The first premise you agree with. If Islam is completely true, then Christianity is not completely true. That one everyone agrees to. I know that atheists don't believe in the second premise, that Christianity is completely true, but Christians do. Now, I know that many atheists find it hard to deal with that there are people who believe different things. I'm sorry, that's just the world we live in. There are people who disagree about their premises. But people who disagree about their premises can validly come to different conclusions. That's the difference between validity and soundness. Soundness is that you have a valid argument where all the premises are in fact true. So whether or not this is in fact true is utterly irrelevant to the moment, but the point is Christians hold it to be true. Therefore, they validly reason that Islam is not true. That is to say, Islam is not completely true. Islam, for example, holds that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob created the world. Christianity also holds that to be true as well, so Muslims are not mistaken about that part. Okay. So, that is how Christians dismiss other religions. To the degree that that other religion contradicts something they know to be true, they know that other religion to be false. Now again, note, many religions don't contradict Christianity entirely, or some barely contradict it at all. For example, if there was such thing as the Tree of Knowledge, and Woden cut out his eye and then, hung himself on the Tree of Knowledge and then gained magical powers, this would in no way contradict anything in Christianity. Christianity does not say there is no such thing as magic. It certainly doesn't say there is such thing as magic. But it doesn't hold that there is no such thing as magic. It doesn't hold that there is no such person as Woden. It doesn't hold that if there was such a person as Woden, he couldn't have cut out his eye or he couldn't have gained magical powers and so on. Woden, no, okay. This gets complicated, and eventually I will do my series on different religions of the world, going an overview and so on, really talking about the differences and so on. One of the real problems, of course, is there are many different stories about Woden and so on. But, the basics where he's essentially just a sorcerer who gains some power and so on. In no version, incidentally, did Woden create the entire world or anything like that. Anyhow, so, at least in the versions wherein he's basically just a sorcerer, that's entirely compatible with Christianity because it's essentially utterly irrelevant to Christianity. There are many aspects of Taoism that Christians are, that are entirely compatible with Christianity. And in fact, I'm told that the way that the Gospels get translated into Chinese, in the part that, in the Gospel of John that begins, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In Greek, and pardon my Greek accent, ex arche en ho logos, ke ho logos en proston theon, ke theos en ho logos. That logos, which means things like logic, rationality, speech, word, argument, and so on, which gets translated as word in English, I'm told actually is translated into Chinese as Dao. So it's very interesting. There are all sorts of interesting things if you're the sort of person who actually likes to learn. But I'm talking about the sort of atheists who, this lesson is meant for the sort of atheists who say that I dismiss your religion as easily as you dismiss everyone else's. So, yeah, trying to remember who the audience for this is. In any event, point is, to the degree that we dismiss other religions, and we don't universally because they're not all claiming contradictory things, but to the degree that another religion contradicts a religion we hold to be true, for whatever reason, we dismiss it as a contradiction to something known to be true. Now, in general, on the internet, and especially amongst the sort of people who will say, I dismiss your religion as easily as you dismiss all others, you guys yell and scream at us about how you don't actually believe anything, how you have no premises, how you simply lack a belief. Well, here's the problem. If you don't have a premise, nothing can contradict it. If you don't have any P implies Q, you cannot, if you don't have any of that, if you don't have a Q or a not Q, depending on how you want to phrase it. P implies not Q. If you don't have a Q, P implies Q. If you don't have a not Q, if you don't have any of those things, you cannot infer not P. You cannot say that the thing is false. So you're not doing anything even slightly similar. Basically, the problem that you have is that from nothing, nothing follows. There's a graphic I really like, which I'll put up, that illustrates this informal logic. Anyway, point is, you guys are not doing anything even slightly similar to what Christians are doing. Because Christians are using logical laws of inference in order to rule out things contradictory to what they hold to be true. You guys, theoretically speaking, don't hold anything to be true, so you can't hold anything to be contradictory to that truth. So, just hope this helps. General good idea, brush up on your logic. Or when I say brush up, I'm guessing most internet atheists never actually learned any logic. So try to find, your local community course might have a philosophy department that will teach you logic. I have, you're certainly not going to believe me, a Christian on the internet, but, look at your local community college or whatever the equivalent thereof is, wherever you happen to be. And, see if you can find somebody who actually knows logic, who will teach it to you. It's a good thing to know. It can be very helpful. Until next time, may you hit everything you aim at. Welcome to Missing the Mark, where we look for meaning in strange places. I'm Christopher. Hi, this is just a quick logic lesson for the sort of atheists who say things like, we dismiss your religion as easily as you dismiss all other religions. Okay, so I'm not going to go over all of logic by any means. Just one rule of logical inference, modus tollens, also known as denying the consequent. So in formal logic, where it's nice and clear, it looks like P implies Q, not Q, therefore not P. To give an example, and in logic one always uses silly examples, very often about Socrates, you have, if Socrates is a bull, then Socrates will have horns. Socrates does not have horns, therefore Socrates is not